But we have not been told of that, and we don't even bother because in the age of information, we don't have to wait for somebody to tell us. We could have figured that out on our own, but we don't. So I would request that we reconsider this notion that as Indians we are thinkers. Oh, we may worry, that's one thing. Worrying is not thinking. Or we may desire, or we may plan, but none of that is what is meant by thought really. You can do a great spreadsheet analysis also. I'm sure those analytics companies are hiring from the campus these days. So you will go and become good spreadsheet analysts. Spreadsheets of all kinds, not necessarily Excel. But that is not thought. And the books you are referring to, those books nobody has read. I can toss a few names and we can have a general hand raise and we'll see how many of us have read the books of philosophy. Whereas those books are not really beyond us. At your intellectual station, those books are very much within your reach. Intellectually, you can comprehend them if you put in the effort. And you have the library here, and you have the net. You must also be having a Department of Humanities here, like other IITs. So I'm sure if you want, you can also get assistance in comprehension. What does it mean to be an Indian? Let's keep our notions aside and examine what we really have on the ground, right? Fact-based evidence. What does it really mean to be an Indian? When you say I am an Indian, or you say I belong to the principal religion, Hinduism in India, what does that really mean? A lot of haze. Some images flash. But there is no real coherence or depth there. Because there never have been any questions asked. If I ask you, what does it mean to be an Indian? You will struggle for an answer. At the same time, you will keep feeling as if you know. You'll keep feeling, oh, it's something very obvious, just that I'm unable to put it in words right now. That's the kind of feeling you will get. But that feeling doesn't help. The fact is, we do not know what this thing called Indianness is. We don't know. We have desires. We have an unexamined cultural pride. And that's probably all that there is. And that doesn't yield anything new. You must be seeing all those Bollywood songs we used to be so fascinated by and proud of, right? More and more, it's now coming to the public that they were all copied. Yes, we already know of some Bollywood songs that were picked up from the West. We know a few of them. But at that time, because Western music was not popular in India, So the acts of copying would not be detected so easily, and even if they were detected, the detection would not become public so easily. It's only now that we are seeing that some of our in fact most of our most loved songs, even they have been copied from the West, and we have respected the musicians, the composers so much. And then we come to know that even they had been just copying.
Acharya, if I may just follow up on that, could you also briefly throw some light on what could be the possible solutions to this low trust risk aversion? I would say not the best economic progress. Is it looking back and cross-examining our cultural baggage? Is it revisiting our sacred texts, or something else?
Just to top up on that, what is the reason for not going deeper? What is the reason of just getting afraid of the thought that we would want to acquire more about?
Very nice. Thank you, both of you. Thank you. So having said that we don't do this, we don't do that, fine. So now the question is, why? Why? You see, the kid is born. Let's look at things very closely. The kid is born here, India. And if you tell the kid, this is what you have, and you must follow it. And if you question it, or question it beyond a point, then you will be punished. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Please tell me.
Fear.
That's it. It's as simple as that. There is no great psychological mystery to it. We are afraid because there always is a very heavy, invisible hand here, ready to put us down. That hand is never visible, but always present. Do things this way. Do things this way. And if you don't do things this way, in fact, not just do things, even think this way. Forget about doing things that are visible to others. Even in your inner world, you must not have freedom. Even your thoughts have to be controlled. And we grow so used to it, that we stop even detecting or feeling it. It becomes a way of life. Yes, there is freedom, but that freedom is always within preset boundaries. Within these boundaries, you are free to do whatever you want to do. So that's it. There's nothing more than that. In fact, you'll be both amused and surprised. The cultural load is so much that it prevents you, or at least discourages you, when it comes to going to even the scriptures or the books of philosophy. So for example, if let's say a festival related to Shri Krishna is being celebrated, let's say, and on that day you say, I want to celebrate this festival by reading the Gita, and the Gita is philosophy, right? And it is in all ways very befitting that I celebrate Shri Krishna through his own book, through his own authorship. It's a beautiful way of celebrating the festival. What do you think? That would be endorsed or discouraged? Discouraged. So this cultural baggage is something that does not look favorably at even Indian philosophy, let alone Western philosophy. It does not like thought itself. It says, simply says, believe, believe and follow, believe and follow. Believe and follow. And we are not saying that we want to, let's say, celebrate Janmashtami by reading Kant or Schopenhauer. No, we are not doing that. We are saying we want to celebrate by reading, discussing, understanding the Bhagavad Gita. Even that would not be really acceptable. Now, stories are all right. You can have a lot of stories, cultural stories, but when it comes to philosophy that is a part of our own history, even that is something that we traditionally just put aside. So you could say you are a great devotee of Sri Krishna, you could say that. But if you are questioned on the philosophical principles contained in the Gita, you may draw a blank. I don't know. Now, what kind of devotion is this? What kind of devotion is this? That's the problem. It's not just that we don't like reading scientific literature. It's not as if we don't like reading just Western literature or Western philosophy. The culture is such that it discourages reading even Indian philosophy. The culture discourages knowledge itself. Knowledge itself. I'll draw your attention to the word Gyan, for example. Beautiful word. Sacred word, actually. But look at the popular language. If you find the common Indian using the word Gyan in his day-to-day interaction, most likely it would be as a pejorative or even as an abuse. Gyan mate. That's the thing. The highest word has been brought down to an abuse. Why? Now you must understand the psychology behind it. I don't need to think. I don't need to really know. I simply need to believe and follow. That's who we have become. And that's not enjoyable, or is it? Please tell me. Please tell me. How many times do we find JEE top rankers, even those in top 500, opting for courses in pure sciences, basic sciences, and those courses are available across many IITs. I'm sure you have some courses here as well. Engineering physics, for example, you have that here? Not yet. But even let's say it's MSc physics. So the entrance is through the JEE itself. Yes. So, but it's inconceivable that somebody with a so-called good enough rank would go for a course in mathematics or physics or in some discipline that is more research-based. If top rankers go for computer science, One of the major reasons is that that's where the real dollars are. Not because they are necessarily very keen to study computers. Right? Tomorrow, due to technological change, if something else comes up, and that's where the most lucrative career options are. You might find that the top rankers are opting for, what should I say, naval technology or ceramics or something else, biotechnology. And these happen to be the neglected disciplines when it comes to the environment during the JEE counseling, right? You go for these departments only if CS or something else is not available to you. So there is no love either. There is no love either. And if you go to philosophy, and psychology happens to be a part of philosophy, you will discover that love and knowledge necessarily go together. Without knowledge, the maximum you can have is attraction, fleeting attraction, attraction to fulfill your desires, not love. Whereas the process of plunging yourself in research, in any activity with no fixed outcomes, requires love. Because the outcomes are not premeditated. It could be research, it could be something else, anything new, whatsoever is fresh. Because of being fresh, its results would not be known in advance, right? Its results would not be known in advance. So what you need is love. Just because of love, I'm into it. So we lack that as well. When it comes to our major life decisions, it is not love that guides us. Be it JEE counseling or the marriage market, or choosing a career. You don't go for a department because you love it. You don't go for a job because you love the work and it's bitter and it's hard. But most matrimonial alliances in India, again, they are loveless. So there is no love. And where there is no love, there would only be desire and greed and a lot of fear. And that's not the environment in which creative output can occur. Impossible.
Acharya, what I can make out of this is that we are afraid of love as well then.
Yeah, wonderful, yes.
But why?
You see, again, you're a kid, right? And you have been told, go down to such a person, and in your own little intelligence, with your own little sense, you can see that the person is not really respectable. Yet you are being told, no, such person is so and so in relation to you, or is so and so in the social structure, so go down. Now where is love? Where is love? Go for such a thing because it will yield you results. Not because you really love it. No. And when you are afraid, love is one of the first casualties. A fearful mind cannot love. An insecure mind just cannot love. Do you see this? Can you see? So all that we do is somehow seek safety. When you are afraid, what else will you seek? When you are afraid, what you want is safety. And we do not know what safety is because we haven't ever felt safe. So what do? We do nothing. We just absorb an image of safety from the same sources that terrify us. The sources that terrify us, they also tell us what it means to be safe. So they give us an image of safety. So for example, for you here, an image of safety might mean a green card or an eventual US citizenship. Right? So I'll be safe then. And that is something that came to you probably when you were in class 8 or 10 or class 11 or so. That's what safety means. I'll be respected, I'll have psychological security, I'll have financial security. And then you back calculate from there. You say, if that's where I have to reach, then how do I reach there? You say, fine. So if I have to be a US citizen, then first of all I should be working in the US for these many years. To be working in the US for these many years, first of all I have to maybe do a master's or PhD from one of the US institutions. To reach one of the US institutions, I must be in one of India's top institutions. Okay, fine. IIT Kharagpur looks like one of those institutions. So let me write the JEE. And then to crack the JEE, let me enroll in such and such coaching. That's how our current decisions get made. It's a kind of reverse engineering. There is just fear there, nothing else. We don't start from the present. We start from the future and backtrack our way to the present. That's where I want to be, and hence, what should I do right now? In that, how can there be love? Love doesn't care for the future, and fear thinks of nothing but the future.
So what's bad in having a future? Or
Nothing. Nothing bad. See, the future comes. Not that the future depends on your thought to come, right? The sun will rise in a few hours on its own. Or does it depend on you? The future will anyway come. The question is of the present. The question is, what are you doing right now? Right now, is your action coming from fear or coming from understanding or coming from love? That's the question. Even if you are deeply engaged, let's say in a research project that you love, this moment, won't the future arrive? Or do you have to really drag the future to come? You don't have to pull the future to you. You don't have to really manufacture a future. The future will anyway come. Even if you immerse yourself in something that you really, really know and therefore love. Know and therefore, I'm not talking of sensual attraction. If you immerse yourself in something that you know and therefore love, this moment, won't the future arrive? Won't the future arrive? But when you are afraid, you say, but I want to feel assured right now that the future would be of the type that I desire right now. Now in this, there can be no heart. And in this, there can be no light of understanding either. In this, there is just fear. What's unfortunate is that our education, our degrees, our money, none of these really succeed in ridding us of this fear. This is the cream of India sitting here when it comes to intellect. And yet we might find we are very, very insecure within. Because theoretical knowledge cannot give you freedom from fear. It comes from something else. It comes from something else. The patterns of thought that we have culturally inherited are actually patterns of fear, and they'll keep you afraid. You have to go to sources that give you freedom. Unfortunately, we don't go to those sources, whereas they are readily available.
So you said we acquired this all kinds of prejudices from our culture, but if you have scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to ask. In Acharya Gita, King Janaka is asking.
Yes.
So there has been some cultural questioning, but somewhere along the
Bhagavad
way.
Gita is not really a part of your culture. You see, I mentioned, you go to Krishna devotees, you'll find them much more concerned with stories related to Krishna, not really his philosophy. The Bhagavad Gita is a very, very radical document. It's a dynamite. It blasts away your ignorance, your prejudice, your biases, your darknesses. Chapter 1 itself is sufficient to put most of our concepts into the waste bin. Just chapter 1. And Sri Krishna has not even begun to speak there. And still chapter 1 is so powerful. And Arjuna is coming up with many of the same things that bog you down even today. There is caste prejudice, there is gender prejudice, there is bodily identification, there are memories of the past, and these are the things that are preventing him from acting steadfastly. Are these not the same things that plague the India of today? Please tell me. Arjun, in chapter 1, Vishadiro, represents the India of today. What he is narrating there as his problems, as his dilemmas, are the problems, fears and dilemmas of today's India. How do we fight those we call our own? And if we all fight and if all the men perish, then we don't trust our women. They'll go and meet with those of the lower varnas. Is that not how relationships are? We don't trust our partners. And then they'll breed kids. Because all the Kshatriya men would be gone. So they'll mate with those of the lower varnas and have kids with them. And then those kids, when they will offer water and other sacrifices, the departed souls of ancestors could not accept, because these would be Varnasankars. And if the departed souls won't accept what these illegitimate kids are offering, then there would be a great social tragedy. Now these are the arguments that Arjun is coming with. And now look at Bihar elections. So this is the India of today. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita is so important. All the arguments that Arjun can come up with are enlisted in chapter 1 itself. And those arguments are still at the center of the Indian mind. In some sense, Sri Krishna didn't succeed. In spite of the brilliance of the Bhagavad Gita, India still continues to be the Arjun of chapter 1. Because we don't care to read chapter 2 onwards. Do we? How many of you have read? Very few. See, not even 5%.
So is this like a cycle that Arjuna was enlightened at a moment, and after that India again was enlightened, and he realized that lovely question, beautiful.
You see, understanding cannot be inherited. What was given to Arjun cannot be passed on to Arjun's son by birth. Material wealth you can inherit. Material wealth you can inherit. I get it. But understanding is something each generation has to discover for itself. You cannot say our ancestors were so great, so we also know what they knew. No, that won't happen. Yes, the ancestral house you can have, the ancestral gun you can have, the ancestral beliefs also you can have. Beliefs can be inherited. They believed in something, you too can continue to believe in the same thing. That is something that can happen. But understanding is something very, very individual. Everyone has to stand up for himself and see for himself. You cannot stand on the shoulders of the previous generations. So Arjun might have received the Bhagavad Gita, but that doesn't mean that it will go to, for example, Bhim. Forget about the other generations. If Arjun receives the Gita, it won't even on its own radiate over to Bhim. That's not going to happen. There might be great philosophical brilliance in the past, but that remains in the past because the current culture does not really care for thought, philosophy and understanding. All it cares for is belief and blind devotion. Just believe and be devoted. Do it this way because that's how others have been doing.
So, in human life, every individual is destined to transition from Arjun in chapter 1 to Arjun in chapter 18.
No, not really. You are destined to start from zero. That much is definite. That much is certain that you will start from chapter 1. But whether you reach chapter 18 is a choice, not destiny. Unfortunately, we are not choosing rightly. Being born in ignorance is a certainty. Every new kid, single kid, born afresh is born in ignorance. That's set in stone, definite. But there is no guarantee that the kid, even if he or she lives 100 years, would attain any level of understanding. No guarantee at all. In fact, you see it all around. 99.99% people die without having been illuminated at all. They become experienced, yes, but not illuminated. And experience on its own cannot bring you illumination. You can live for 200 years and still be an idiot. It is quite possible.
I can remember one part in chapter 18 that after reciting the entirety of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjun that Yathechasi Tatha Kuru, that he has told him everything, and it is up to him what he has to do.
So choice is still a choice. Now do as you want. That's what he is quoting. I have given you what was needed to be given. Now do as you want. The choice still remains. How to make the right choice? By understanding the chooser. Because that's what the entire flow of 18 chapters is bringing Arjun back to again and again. The one making the choice. Because it's a battlefield. A choice has to be made. Whether or not I'll fight, whether or not I'll kill, whether I would retreat and escape. Choices are to be made. And the right choice can be made only if you are prepared to look at the chooser. It is from the chooser that the entire process of choosing follows. So Shri Krishna is saying, now I have set the chooser right. The doer, the chooser, the actor, the ego. I have eliminated it. Now from there, let the chooser make his choice. Now do. Because choice is a given. It cannot be taken away from you. You are condemned to be free, as a philosopher said. You are condemned to have choice. And if you do not know the point within you from where the choice arises, all your choices will be misplaced. Not one choice, not two choice. You won't be able to claim that, I made 10 choices. Out of these 10 decisions, 4 went wrong. No, sir. If it's coming from the wrong center, the entire set of 10 will be equally misplaced. Equally misplaced. You cannot have a few right choices and a few wrong choices. If you are not right within, all your choices will carry the stamp of your ignorance. All choices. It's like a code within. If it carries a bug, all its output will be equally nonsensical. You cannot say if we input in a certain way, then the output is right. But if we input in a different way, then the output is wrong. No. If the inner thing is not placed rightly, then even a single step, something as trivial as this, even a single step that you take will not be right. Forget about making big choices in big affairs of life. Even small choices like what to eat, and whether to eat, and when to eat, even that will not be right. Forget about choosing a job or a life partner rightly. You will not be able to choose even a shirt for yourself rightly. Because it's the same entity making the choice. The chooser is the same. So the entire thing is to bring Arjun back to the chooser. Observe how your choice is being made. Observe from where all your claims, assertions, emotions, thoughts are arising. Look at your center. See that it's not you but your conditioning at work. See that you are not speaking at all. Somebody else is speaking through you. Who's speaking through you? The centuries of cultural baggage, Arjun. From where did you learn all these concepts? That souls are there and souls are waiting for water. From where is all this coming? Arjun, look at yourself. So the Bhagavad Gita is a great fire that burns away all kinds of superstitions. Unfortunately, in India, religion has come to mean superstition. How did this miracle happen? The Bhagavad Gita is a great fire that burns away misogyny and casteism. Unfortunately, in India, if you are religious, it is quite likely you will have a particular attitude towards women and castes. How did this happen? It happened because all that we value is culture Reason is simple. Those who enforce culture are those who are able to inflict fear on us. Think of it. Think of it. The same sources that gave you culture were also the sources who were in a condition to terrify you. Is that not so? Where did you learn the cultural things from? The places that gave you those cultural inputs were also the places that had some authority, some power with respect to you. So therefore they could punish you, pressurize you, and such things. And that's what has happened to India. That's our undoing. And unless we correct that, things will continue as they are. Now we are way behind even in the AI race. That was a window of opportunity, something new that opened up. We could have caught up with the rest of the world. We missed that bus as well.
Let's say, Acharya, from today, I start observing myself. How will I deal with all the things, all the actions? Let's say if they are headed in the wrong direction, I can see those actions. Some guilt will come automatically that why am I doing this? How will I deal with that?
Even the guilt is not automatic. Even the guilt is a programmed guilt. You are supposed to feel guilty if you do all this. You look at the little kid, or you look at the animal. They have not been programmed yet. So the little kid would spill the milk and not feel guilty at all. But as the kid grows up, continuously, he will be told, you are a bad baby if you do this. And if you are a bad baby, I won't love you. If you are a bad baby, you will be punished. So guilt too is a form of conditioning. Guilt is not innate. Guilt is not your own. You have been programmed to feel guilty. Therefore, disown the guilt. If you do something right, and even in that you feel guilty, very boldly disown the guilt. Declare to yourself, no, I won't admit this guilt. No, something within me wants to put me down. Something within me wants to cage me, engage me by the guilt feeling. I won't admit it. Don't we have stories, so many stories? One fellow did this, and then having seen that he had committed a huge sin, some path, he then undertook a long process of purification and penance, and then he was able to somehow compensate for, atone for his mistakes. All those stories you have been hearing and hearing, those stories are in the air. Those stories are in the air. Even if you have not heard the stories, you have still imbibed them. Just as the particular verses that of several of the Smriti books that tell you how to behave in life, how to marry, what kind of attitude to have towards your wife, towards your husband, towards your parents, towards the various castes. What kind of this, that you may have never really by yourself read those verses. It is very unlikely that you have read them. Still, your conduct conforms to those verses because they are in the air. They are all here. They are all here. So we live by them. We live by them. So this is all conditioning. We have absorbed all of that. And unless we reject all this in its totality, things will remain as they are for this nation that had seen the first and the brightest streaks of human civilization. What you find in the Upanishads is unmatched. The Greeks were there at the same time, and I love the Greeks. I read them. I also taught Greek philosophy. The Chinese were there, much the same period. But what you have in the Upanishads is unmatched. And yet we will continue in our same lowly condition if we do not totally reject that which we call as our Indianness today. This is not Indianness. This is some hodgepodge coming from random incoherent sources. True Indianness waits to be discovered.
Namaste, Acharya ji. When the question of Indianness comes, I have a historical questions. Like my friend said that there was a time when we used to live in the fields of technology, science, medicine, trade, education, and whatnot. It should have been the case that we should have lived, but it happened that we became slaves of foreign powers, and it's not also the case that they were much in numbers. They were very small population, and they enslaved us
Acha, apply your common sense. Is it possible that the America of today is enslaved by, let's say, Cuba? Cuba? Possible? They have tensions with Venezuela. Is it possible that Venezuela of today colonizes the US? Is it possible? Please tell me. But we say India was a superpower in all possible terms. And yet those lowly little Britons came here and colonized us. Is it possible? There is something fishy in the story. There is something fishy in the story, right? And we don't want to go back and really read and figure out what really happened. We believe in this narrative. We were great, we were Vishnu, they were Sonegi Chidiya, this happened. Then these uncultured, uncouth people, they come here and they came here and through tricks and trickery, they enslaved us. Like seriously? Seriously?
but not only the Britons, but also the Turks, the Mughals, the
Exactly. So, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Zimbabwe, Congo, each of them is taking turns to colonize the US. Is that ever going to happen? Please tell me. Can that happen? There is something wrong with the story. There is something wrong with the story. Now let me tell you. When the Brits landed here, India's per capita GDP was already at least 30% lower than that of Britain. We stood at per capita $500 to $700. They stood at per capita $700 to $1,000. The last time Indians were actually more prosperous than Europeans was in the 10th century, CE or AD. That was the last time. So that fall does not begin with the arrival of the Dutch or the Portuguese or the Spaniards or the French. The fall does not begin there. The fall had begun much earlier, but we don't want to admit that. And the reasons are very interesting why we don't want to admit that the fall had begun much earlier. Because the reasons that initiated the fall